Raising animals through natural cross brings significant advantages to the animals. That's by allowing them to have access to pastures around them. They get so many nutrients from them, which aids in their growth. But however, producing feed on your own makes you independent. So in this episode, that's what we are going to be talking about. Good day to you guys wherever you are. Welcome to North Farms. My name is Ezekiel. If this is your first time coming across the channel, please do very well to subscribe to the channel. Here on the North Farms, we basically talk about rabbits, things related to rabbits and more. So we have goats around, we have sheep around. So once in a while, we will be talking about those forms of farming as well. But to our returning subscribers, I would like to say a big thank you to you guys for sticking with us through. It's been so nice having you guys around. You've encouraged us. Words of encouragement has been given to us to keep doing what we do. So I'd like to say a big thank you to you guys for supporting us throughout. So for this episode, we are going to be talking on something very simple but very crucial when it comes to rabbit farming, which is hay production. Right? Hay production, it's something that is very simple to do, but yet it brings a lot of benefits to your animals. So in this episode, like I said, we are going to be we'll deep dive into hay production. The rising concentrate prices are forcing farmers to be more aware of the basic forage production. Increase in feed intake through quality hay is becoming a more important aspect because it improves the performance of the animal, and also besides saving on the concentrate you usually feed to your animals, hay has a good protein source which is stable, and also it's able to reach the smaller intestines of ruminant animals, which leads to less stress in terms of metabolic activities that undertake in the intestines of the animal. So like I said, we are going to be looking at hay as an alternative to slashing down your feed costs. So stay tuned. So hay is simply a dehydrated forage material. It could be made from either grasses or leguminous plants, and also it could be a combination of both, right? So hay is it's simply cut, dried and stored, and it's used to feed animals. So hay is mostly fed to animals that have been confined, as in they've not been allowed to go out into the wild. So this is normally fed to animals that have been caged, like rabbits, and also to goats, sheep that have been kept in an enclosed area. So we are going to be looking at 5 benefits or 5 reasons why you should feed hay to your animals, or better still, you should start feeding hay to your animals. Now please take notes. These advantages, I've made the research in such a way that it's going to benefit all forms of livestock farming that make use of hay. So there will be points that I'll be mentioning goat, sheep, so I just want you to be aware of that. So first on the list will be hay. It's low in moisture content, and this is beneficial to our animals, especially in rabbit farming. You realize that bunnies don't do very well with greens. When you feed them with greens, you realize that you usually lose them because they are monogastrics. They have a single stomach, so they easily get bloated, and this doesn't have any form of treatment. Okay, so the best we can do is to prevent it. So this is beneficial to us, the rabbit farmers. So hay is going to play a major role in our feeding, especially when it comes to our bunnies. So the second point will be that it's less acidic. So you realize that let's compare hay to silage. Silage is a fermented form of feed. So you realize that it has a lot of acidic content in the feed, and this acidity tends to lessen the appetite of the animal, as in it doesn't have much appetite to feed because the acidity hampers on its taste for the food. So third on my list will be that feeding hay to your animals stimulates ruminating activities, which would result in a higher intake of the feed you give to your animals. Now you realize that hay on its own is a roughage, and generally roughages aid in digestion, right? So when you feed hay to your animals, what happens is that they take this hay, which enables them to digest other feeds quickly, and they drink in water, which speeds up the digestion process. So it's going to result in animals taking more feed. And also when you feed hay to your animals, it has a higher protein stability, which improves protein supply to the smaller intestines. So now this is going to lead to lesser metabolic stress, that's in digestion. So the fourth point would be that hay is rich in nutrients. So it tells us that hay has some amount of carbohydrates, it has some amounts of protein, vitamins and minerals. But please do take note, depending on the type and species of hay you are feeding to your animals will determine the amounts of nutrients you are supplying to the animal. So let's take it alfalfa for instance. Alfalfa has a higher protein content. So if you decide to feed alfalfa to your animals, you realize that you would be feeding feed to your animals that would have a higher protein content as compared to, let's say, brachiaria grass, because brachiaria grass doesn't have the protein content as high as alfalfa grass. So please do take note of that as well. So for our very last point, it will be that if you feed a kilogram of hay to, say, your cattle, it's equivalent to 0.75 kg of concentrates saved. What this means is that the 0.75 kg of concentrates has been saved, meaning there will be less cost on your part. Hay is going to cut down that particular aspect of the concentrates. So I'm going to be taking you through the very simple steps through how we make hay. And the first step would be to observe the sites that you are going to harvest the grass to come make as hay. Now this is a very important step, as if you ignore this step, it's going to jeopardize the rest of whatever you are going to be doing. Because let's say you go to a site where it's being sprayed, then you go to harvest this grass, then come and dry it and feed to your animals. You realize that you are going to kill the rest of your animals. You kill each and every one of them, right? So make sure you observe the sites, make enquiries. If there are people around that area, ask around, have they sprayed the place, those kind of questions. And also, if it's in, let's say, the wild where people don't live there, just try to do some observations. Look around to see if grasses are turning yellow when they are supposed to still be green. That's a caution that you should take note, and you should be very careful when harvesting grass around that particular area. So the second step would be to go ahead and cut your grass. So you would want to cut the parts that will have more leaves. We need more leaves, not stems. So we need to cut the parts that will have more leaves, and you come. So the third step would be to clean your grass by washing. So what you do is that you put the grass in water, then add some bit of salt to disinfect it, then you wash it clean. So, and the fourth step would be to dry your grass, right? So you dry it in the sun so that they lose the moisture content in them. Then our last step would be to go ahead and package your grass, and this would involve you maybe using a sack, like in my case as I do. I harvest them once I pick them from the sun, I put them in the sack, then I store them for future use. Now this is going to go a long way to save your animals. Let's say in times of dry seasons, you are not going to be running around sourcing for feeds and all that. Hay is going to cut down that cost for you. So there is something that I felt that you needed to know, and I needed you guys to know how to do it. My aim would be that to ensure that every farmer that watches this is able to make hay on his own without going to buy it somewhere else, or without going to buy more feed to come and supplement your animals. Okay, So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please be sure to give us a like and also subscribe if you haven't. Share it to friends and family who you think might be interested in farming as well. And I'll see you in the next one.